The fundamental difference lies in the mentality of Russian people and their perception of the relationship between them and the state. If, in Western cultures, individualism is praised and put on the pedestal, in Russia, just as in some post-Soviet countries, it's all about the state. Individuals are expendable, but this is just a cultural thing, so to speak. It's common in Russia to have reverence for the state, the culture, for things in general, overlooking them in particular. This is why, no matter how poor the people could be, how hard their lives could be, still, when it comes to politics and international affairs, so many Russians tend to support Putin and his actions. This is the problem. Again, this is a cultural thing, which is intensified by skillful propaganda, of course. People feel strength in unity, even though many of them, in separation, are deprived of many basic comforts of modern life. To Western people, such an approach seems like cognitive dissonance, which is understandable. But nevertheless, such is the Russian people's mentality, is the result of many centuries of serfdom that existed in Russia until 1861. In fact, democracy has never existed in Russia. Once the Russian Empire was demolished after the revolution in 1917, the foundation for what became known as the Soviet Union was laid. The Soviet Union, by all standards, was a completely totalitarian state. There was no freedom of speech and other institutions that traditionally comprised the core of any system of Western values. With the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, that's when modern Russia emerged, there was a decade or so of what could be called a democracy in the bud. It was the time when Russia had seemingly set foot on the path to democracy. But it didn't work out. The people simply are not interested in it. They don't understand it. They have no reverence for individualism and freedom. Democratic values are no part of the tradition. So, in this sense, when it comes to mentality, serfdom has never been abolished in Russia. I have to say that Russia has always produced extremely talented people, the so-called intelligentsia, but in very small amounts compared to the population. Historically, it was typical for them to come into conflict with the state and the people. Thus, they've usually been expelled or ended up in prison or a cemetery. This is just how it is. The 20th century alone is full of examples, so this is Russia's fundamental problem. It's people's mentality. Will it ever change? At some point, probably yes. Over time, states tend to transform into democracies. This is just an observation from life. 20th century Europe could be an example. But as of today, this is the way Russia is. The people need a Tsar and his strong hand, ridiculous parades and other stuff.